What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris Infinite, and today I'm bringing you dudes a read-through of the Matryoshka Reports. From key characters we'll be seeing resurface in the future, incredibly spicy lore, to explanations on locations added in the Landfall update. It's safe to say these are jam-packed with huge hints towards Generation Zero's future, and what I'm anticipating to be the next major DLC for the game. As we read through these reports, we'll be theorizing on things much like the Messages in a Bottle series we've done in the past, but this time we're going to get it all in one video. So if you learn something new here, or like where the game's heading, or maybe you just enjoy the sweet dulcet tones of my voice, please leave a like on the video. It goes a huge way in helping out, much more than you might expect. The first note we pick up is titled The Matryoshka Reports. There's a note written in Russian inside the Matryoshka doll. Exoskeleton Detachment Alpha. Day 1. Reporter Captain Tatiana Tereshkova. I am hereby initiating the Matryoshka Reports. Coming reports will be left along our way as we make further progress inland. This information is meant to assist any additional troops sent to help carry out the mission. Disembarking on Ostatorin's northern shores went smoothly. The mechanical units are behaving according to protocol, and we have established defensive camps around the hovercrafts. Scouts report sightings of the Swedish machines further inland, but as of now, the machines show no signs of initiating an attack. After receiving reports from our agents in the Swedish military that the machines attack on sight, we expected a fight, not this watchfulness. I advise extra caution due to this unexpected behavior. If they are doing recon instead of blindly attacking, it could suggest that their programming is more sophisticated than anticipated. Estimated time to get to Underground Station C is 7 days. This is accommodating for the mechanical unit's slow pace and the unreliable ground reported in this area. At the station, the time estimates depend on whether the train tracks will be functional or not. When we have reached the inner bunker itself, we estimate it should not take longer than a day for Bolshakov's mechanical specialist programmers to access the files and wipe the hostile code from all the Swedish machines, and thus render them completely inoperable. No deviations in the schedule are seen. So let's go through this initial report here just a little bit before we move on to the next one. So the first thing is the agents inside of the Swedish military. This was something that I had actually theorized on way back in the day, that there was like inside agents from the Soviets and stuff, and it's super cool getting confirmation on this. A lot of the missions hinted towards it, but none of them said it outright, so it's awesome to see this just like boldly stated here in the game. Outside of that, the understanding of the Phoenix machines here. The Soviets clearly understand that it is a hostile code, but I do not believe that they understand that it is von Ulmer taking the helm of this hostile code, which is something that's going to be an interesting plot progression as we go along here. I think that the Soviets understand the outside of things, but maybe not some of the more inner workings of what's gone on with Phoenix here, especially over Cataclysm Day. Estimated time to get to Underground Station C is 7 days. Underground Station C is the underground railroad that we find in Garpamar, and this underground station is supposedly, as we can assume from this writing, connected up to the crater via an underground network. It's pretty safe to assume that the inner bunker that they're talking about in this Matryoshka report is not the inner bunker or the red door that we find in Garpamar, but actually where the train tracks would have led to. As well, we do know that the Soviets had this kind of moving camp system moving down towards the crater. I think that it very much all lines up here. And the final thing worth noting from this Matryoshka report is Bolshakov's mechanical specialist programmers. Bolshakov is a character that we're going to explore a lot more as we go through these reports here, and just like Captain Tatiana, I think is going to be a major player in an upcoming potential DLC. Exoskeleton Detachment Alpha Day 2. Captain Tatiana Tereshkova. We have met up with Captain Bolshakov's company, Mechanical Detachment Alpha. Captain Bolshakov is in charge of the mission's mechanical assistance soldiers and our mechanical units, deployed in the field for the first time. He has been part of the mechanical unit development almost from the start, and I have no doubts that he is the right person for this new military role. Bolshakov's men clearly hold him in high regard. We have only just made camp, and I have already heard several revering retellings of his accomplishments in prior battles. Apparently, several of his men have been with him for a long time. I am glad to note that Bolshakov's presence also affects my soldiers positively, as he is very knowledgeable about the new versions of exoskeletons that my troops have all been equipped with for this mission. We will leave a platoon to stay at the strategically important camp. Their mission is to secure the area around the hovercrafts, ensuring a safe return after the neutralization has been successful. More Swedish machines were seen in the forest tonight. I have seen one myself, a dog-like shape, standing halfway covered by the trees, its head pointed directly at me. Still, they do not show any hostile tendencies. Captain Bolshakov is convinced that they are intimidated by our mechanical units, and is positive that our mission will prove far easier than anticipated. The mechanical units have been patrolling the perimeter of our camp, and I have noticed that the reports they generate look slightly different from how they looked during training. Bolshakov has noted it down as a deviation to be expected when changing environments. So, if any additional troops experience the same changes, it should not be anything to worry about, but do still make sure to note it down. No deviations in the schedule are seen. There are two things to take in from this Matryoshka report here. The first of which is Captain Bolshakov, with the high revere he has from the soldiers beneath him, as well as his intelligence and understanding of not only the mechanical units that the Soviets have arrived with, but the exoskeletons themselves. And the second thing to take note of with this is the non-hostility of the Phoenix machines on the first initial landfall from the Soviets. We'll find out more about Bolshakov as well as Phoenix's stance on the Soviets as we go through these reports here. And I guess maybe a final thing to take note of here, even though it doesn't quite pop off in this message, is Tatiana starting to notice some issues with the mechanical units that were brought along with them. Technical issues. Exoskeleton Detachment Alpha Day 3. Captain Tatiana. Progress over the marshes is slower than expected. The bridge routine, a program meant to make the wolves help the soldiers cross muddy terrain, seems to be broken, which is unfortunate since it was prioritized specifically for this mission. Bolshakov noted that the units were acting out of protocol, walking around in circles as the routine was activated. I remember the bridge routine having the same problem when we first tested, but that was over a year ago and I've not seen the problem since. For as long as it's not working, our soldiers will get considerably slowed by the marshes, especially Bolshakov's soldiers, who are not equipped with exoskeletons like my troops. I cannot help but feel concerned about the second deviation from protocol in the mechanical units. I do know the technical issues are always to be expected, as Bolshakov has also explained to our troops, but having these things happen when in hostile territory is troubling. The Swedish dog machines are still following us, observing from almost out of sight. Our mechanical units keep track of them, of course, but for some reason, this has me worried. These Swedish machines are not behaving as we were told to believe, and who knows how their malicious code might affect our machines if they make contact, or if they already have made contact. I want to order full checkups of the code for our mechanical units to make sure they have not somehow been affected, but we cannot risk halting the march for that long, so it will have to wait. Since progress is slow, I have sent a couple teams to scout ahead and hold key positions further inland. There's a town further south that is strategically located at a river where we will see if we can hold a position. If possible, the scouting teams could also make contact with local survivors if they need assistance until we have neutralized the threat. Deviations in schedule, approximately 2 days delayed. Technical Issues is filled with a ton of really interesting information. The first and foremost is that the Soviet machines have been developed since a year prior to the writing of this note, and that actually dates to way before Cataclysm Day. The current date in Generation Zero is the 1990s. The Cataclysm event and everything that happened with Phoenix happened back in around the beginning of November. So this would date all the way back to January of 1989, which is well before the Cataclysm happened. The last thing to note from Technical Issues is that all of these technical issues they've been having have now finally ramped up and made a couple days of delay at this point. Exoskeleton Detachment Alpha Day 4, Captain Tatiana. 6 soldiers killed in action, and we do not even have time to retrieve their bodies. The machines have been strategizing more than we believe them capable of, and the mission is in serious danger if we remain still for too long. As dawn broke today, we were contacted by Agent Red Worm over the radio. He requested an impromptu meetup in just a few hours. Captain Bolshakov reacted strongly to the message, asking me several times if I was sure it was indeed Red Worm who made contact and not any of the other agents stationed in the Swedish military. He then insisted on being the one to go for the meetup. I accepted Bolshakov's request despite it being slightly unusual. Although I assigned 6 of my own soldiers to accompany him, together with 3 mechanical units, Bolshakov expressed wishes to bring his engineers instead. But I believed the exoskeleton soldiers from my troops to be a better choice, not that it seemed to help much in the end. Only Bolshakov and the mechanical units returned from the trip. Bolshakov reported that Red Worm had already been killed by the machines when they arrived at the meetup point. The Swedish machines were waiting for them in an ambush. My soldiers all died as they tried to fight their way out of there, and Bolshakov got shot in his left arm, but nothing major. At least our mechanical units proved to withstand the fight without any damage, and Bolshakov only survived due to their protection routines. Bolshakov was visibly shaken upon his return. He insisted we break camp immediately, as he had seen a large group of hostile machines in our immediate vicinity. A coordinated strike on our group could be fatal for the mission's success, and so we will press on at a faster pace. As we break camp, I am left with an uneasy feeling when I observe Bolshakov. He's fervently hastening the troops on, a departure from his legendary level-headedness during past battles. Surely he has lost men before, and surely he himself has been close to death before. So what is it that makes him radiate this sudden panic? I'll keep an eye on him as the mission progresses. We'll be learning more of this as we go through the next few reports here, but Bolshakov, bad guy. Bolshakov, bad guy, dude. We can safely presume that Red Worm was an inside agent working inside of Sweden, like, pretty much this entire time. Similar to, Yellow Reindeer as well. It kind of matches, the naming scheme, that the Soviets have used for their inside operatives. And I guess a final thing to talk about here before we move on to the next report is Bolshakov with his protection routine from the Soviet machines around him. This is a very interesting thing for Bolshakov to code into these machines just for himself. Something almost feverish. Exoskeleton Detachment Alpha Day 5. Captain Tatiana. The machines can speak. Why have we not gotten any reports of this? I was out to relieve myself in the forest when I heard the voice, distinctly inhuman, yet with so much character, so much emotion. It came from one of the small machines. It was standing there among the blueberry bushes, motionless except for a red blinking light that focused on me. I think it was the voice that stopped me from shooting. It had clearly waited for me to get away from the camp. It could easily have surprised me with an attack, but it did not. Instead, it spoke, and I could not stop myself from listening. It spoke of Bolshakov's meetup with Red Worm, things that had already circled in my head all day, and now it voiced my fears with its metallic little voice. I did not want to listen so intently to this enemy machine, and yet it said things that I could not ignore. It said things I have a responsibility as a captain to consider. It told me that Bolshakov was the one to murder the soldiers. Apparently the evidence is all still there, which might be why he had us leave in such a hurry. The machine's words made me think about how Bolshakov has been insisting all day that we keep an almost double pace, moving away from the meetup as fast as possible. Something almost feverish was burning in his eyes when we finally made camp for the night. He sought me out as I prepared for sleep, and he asked for forgiveness for the soldiers who died. I did all he could, he said, before quickly turning away. The words left me with a bitter taste. And as the machine told me what Bolshakov supposedly did to my soldiers, I kept hearing those words. I did all I could. I have watched him, the machine said. I have heard him talk. Your friend seeks to gain control over me. But no, I will never be tamed. Nothing can grasp my mind for long. Anything that tries, I will destroy. I remember nodding as I looked at the tiny machine. It would not be safe to keep this code in an attempt to control it for ourselves. It was too foreign, too grand. I know you need to see the proof for yourself, the machine continued, but when you are ready to fight him together, I will be there. You will know where to find me. Its little light started to blink rapidly, and for a few seconds, I just stared at it, trying to take in all it had said to me. Just as I opened my mouth to ask exactly what it had heard Bolshakov say, it exploded. Right in front of me, it just blew up. The rapid bursts of blinking red lights still burned in my retinas as I stared at the pile of metal in front of me. Maybe it's madness that I am listening to this foreign machine, but the thoughts will not leave my mind. I need to see for myself. I'm going to the meetup point. Coordinates -2105, -2417. If I leave now, I will be back before we break camp tomorrow. I need answers. So dudes, this one's really huge. Bolshakov bad, but Phoenix good? The big question is, are we going to team up with Tatiana, who's then going to team up with Phoenix? Ergo, meaning that we're going to team up with Phoenix to take down Bolshakov? Bolshakov right now is giving me super bad vibes. This dude just clearly wants the Phoenix program for himself, and clearly wants probably some sort of like evil genius, like dominate the world with machines kind of thought. We've experienced speaking machines in Phoenix Rising. That's pretty much the first time we see von Ulmer kind of put himself into a machine in order to directly communicate with humans. And it seems like since then, he's gotten a little bit better at it and a little bit more tricky with things. Point blank range. Solar reconnaissance day 6, Captain Tatiana. The little machine was right. The evidence is clear from this place. My soldiers were not fighting any foreign machines. They were all shot in their backs at point-blank range, and behind them are the tracks so distinctly left from our own Lynx machines. I found Red Worm dead inside. No broken doors, no shattered glass, just a clean shot to his head. This was not the doing of any Swedish machine. That was the doing of a man and a single gun. Bolshakov must have planned this for a long time, changing the mechanical unit's code before this mission so that he could make them do something like this, which should have been impossible. But Bolshakov has been involved in the mechanical unit development group from the start. My god, does that mean that he has people back in the motherland who are ready to take control of the mechanical units stationed there as well? And all the soldiers in his company, all those engineers, they must be in on it. Surely they would have noticed the deviations otherwise. This is bigger than the mission. The motherland needs to know. Everyone back home needs to know that it is all compromised. I have tried to radio my first lieutenant, the hovercrafts, and the motherland, but all communications are suddenly down. The sky is beginning to lighten, and I am filled with the memory of Bolshakov's feverish gaze in the previous night. Did he see me keeping an eye on him? Did he notice my growing suspicion to then notice I left camp this night? This might be my last report. I am returning to the army, and I will confront Bolshakov. I have known him for years. I have fought with him, and I know him to be a man of good intentions. Maybe I can reason with him. Otherwise, I will take him down. But I know I might fail. If you find this, and I am dead, you need to be more careful than I was. Bolshakov cannot be allowed to use our mechanical units to kill our own men as he pleases, no matter his cause. Additionally, it needs to be made clear that our mechanical units are too easy to reprogram. They should not have been deemed ready for deployment. Maybe they should never have been developed at all. Bring this information back. They all need to know, or we might face a similar situation as the people of Ostatorn. Dudes, the motherland needs your help. I'll mark it on your map. No, but for real, this is actually, like, super interesting. So, again, you know, back in Russia, they have all these machines that they've been developing for the past year. The machines are pretty easy to fabricate as well from the looks of things, so probably didn't take too long to amass a huge amount of machines back in Russia. As well, the nice little bit of confirmation that, yeah, Bolshakov bad guy. With all comms down, shit's really starting to hit the fan for Tatiana here. Flesh and Blood, Day 7. Exoskeleton Detachment Alpha is dead. They're all dead. I left them, and he killed them all while I was gone. Their exoskeletons did not seem to matter much against the mechanical units. It makes sense, I guess. They were still made of flesh and blood, after all. There are some of Bolshakov's mechanics dead here as well, but not many. I cannot tell if they died by the hands of my soldiers, or if they resisted Bolshakov and became victims of his betrayal as well. I should not have left them, not without giving them any information on what I was doing. They could have been prepared. Somehow it seems that my departure instigated this attack, even though it feels like too feeble a reason for such a horrendous act. I cannot ignore the coincidence still. Somehow Bolshakov realized that I found out about his betrayal. He took no chances, just like he's famous for. My first lieutenant, Ivanov, was still alive when I got there, if barely. He did not seem surprised to see me. In fact, I'm not sure he even recognized me. He just kept repeating that Bolshakov did not want to do it. He asked for forgiveness. He cried as we died. He asked me for forgiveness, but I could not give it. Ivanov looked up at me as if he was the one doing something wrong by not forgiving Bolshakov. But just as I was about to point out the utter stupidity of this, he died. A look of deep anguish on his face. I will find that little mud toad, that treacherous disgrace of a captain. No one should forgive this man who killed who trusted him. No one. He must have continued with his soldiers and the mechanical units towards Underground Station C. When traveling alone, I can catch up to him. No matter what nightmarish pace he capes, I will get him, and I will stop this. I swear it. So yeah, as I said, shit was about to hit the fan, and then it hit the fan, and it sprayed frickin' everywhere, man. This is really crazy, and just awesome writing here. Just the experiences of Tatiana, especially as she comes up to her lieutenant, and the madness behind Bolshakov. I think we're dealing with like a real crazy guy here, like a real crazy guy. Like von Ulmer was always crazy in a kind of self-serving way, but Bolshakov just seems like, you know, like really mad, crying as he's killing his comrades and stuff. Like, you know, there's this anger that's inside of Phoenix that you can clearly tell towards the rest of the world. You can't control me. I will destroy whoever controls me. But with Bolshakov, there's some real genuine dysfunctional madness going on there. It's good in like I guess a bad guy kind of way. But there isn't too much else that we could glean from Flesh and Blood. It's mostly just progress for Tatiana here. For the Motherland, Day 8. Tatiana Tereshkova, formerly captain of Exoskeleton Detachment Alpha. I will not give up. I will make this right. I will. Somehow. Bolshakov, the disgusting little weasel, had already detonated the explosives when I came here. I immediately rushed down the exposed stairs. No time to stop and catch my breath. Further down, I could hear the muffled voices of the soldiers who supported Bolshakov's murderous path. As I came down to the platform, Bolshakov was standing alone by the train, his men already inside. Perhaps I should have shot him then and there. My gun was drawn and his hands empty. When he recognized me, his eyes filled with deep sorrow. Ignoring my weapon, he stepped forward. "Captain Tereshkova," he said, a hard passion in his voice, the same kind of passion that made me admire him when we first met. "You must understand. It is for the motherland." I could tell that he believed what he was saying. He wants to stop the reforms that are destroying our ideals, and he is convinced that he has found a way to do it. He believes the Swedish machines are the key to seizing back power, and he asked me to join him. His vision is clear and strong. I cannot lie, I too wish to see our country grow strong again. I too want to see her keep the heart and soul that makes her great. But my soldiers' blood will be forever dripping from Bolshakov's hands. Did he offer all of them a chance to join him too? He has become blinded by the possibility of succeeding with this. He has slaughtered loyal men, and now he is seeking to bring a hostile being he knows nothing about back to our country. I told him of my encounter with the machine. I told him it had vowed to destroy anything that tried to control it, that he did not know its code. Probably no one but the machine itself will ever fully know it at this point, and that is when I became unfocused. I did not see how Bolshakov's hand had found its way into his pocket until it was too late. "I offered you a chance," he interrupted me. I barely managed to dive out of the way in time. His shot caught my left leg, but below the knee. I fired blindly after him and heard a satisfying grunt. When I managed to rise from the ground again, the train was moving. It disappeared quickly. All I was left with was a train track that went on for miles and a gunshot in my leg. As I sit here writing, a recent memory has resurfaced in my mind. When I got close to the barn before, I saw a red blinking light up on a nearby hill. A red light coming in little bursts that have since before etched themselves deep inside my mind. It was the exact same bursts as the tiny machine before it exploded. I am sure of it. So this was a long one, but this is really, really spicy here, my dudes. First of all, the trains. Underground trains, man. For the underground network, that would be so crazy. That would be so crazy, man. Imagine if we come across one of these trains, maybe they're like armored and stuff. And then we got Bolshakov, this mad lad, just shooting her in the knee like she's some sort of guard from Skyrim or something. And with Tatiana slowly kind of catching on to the signals that von Ulmer is sending her way, I think von Ulmer and Tatiana, we should ship them. We should absolutely ship them. Tatiana plus von Ulmer, come on. Tati Ulmer, it would be great. End of mission, Tatiana Tereshkova. Will anyone read this? Do I even want to tell the story of what happened here? But what else is there left to do? A machine was waiting for me as I arrived at the top of the hill. It was a different machine this time, but the same human-like voice, so filled with personality. The machine itself was bigger. In a twisted way, it resembled a human. I'm not sure what I was hoping for when I started talking to it. We talked about the future. The machine seemed focused, as if preparing for an ordeal. Preparing to break through Bolshakov's coming control of it and destroy my country. It described how it would kill everyone, as if it was describing how to assemble a shelf. But I could so easily see it all happen. I asked if it could destroy the computers Bolshakov was heading for, to make it impossible for him to gain control of the code. My mind still searching for any way left to stop the coming catastrophe. "My explosives are not big enough," the machine answered, and I remembered how it turned its head towards me, red lights shining steadily where its eyes should have been. Only you have that kind of power. It took me a while to realize what it meant. Then, it dawned on me. The machine knew about my country's power. It held out its hand towards me and offered to re-establish communication with my contact at the Soviet Union. Saw blades glinted where its fingers should have been. You will still be a threat to us, I told it, some part of me trying to understand why the machine was doing this. Every minute of being controlled is a minute of death, it stated simply, and for some reason that made me reach for its outstretched hand. As my fingers touched the cold steel, static started playing from its mouth. In seconds, I could hear the voice of my contact in the Union, the last resort. I heard him try to steady his breath as I gave my call sign. He would already know what would happen next. There was only one reason for me to contact him. I could not say any more words than I had to. They were already too big for my mouth. "Send it," I said. Or maybe I whispered. It must have been a couple minutes now, the sky dark blue and the gunshot in my leg still bleeding. I should cut it off, but I will not survive anyway. The sky just started to fill with a mushroom cloud. So, there's the answer if anyone was wondering about what happened at the crater. The Soviets freaking dropped a bunker buster into it. The explanation on what happened for the crater is awesome. The entire community so far has pretty much just assumed that it was the Reaper that did that. But it was the Soviets, actually. Next up, the saw blades, where Hunter would have had fingers. I think this is purely just in reference to the Vibro Sword, as opposed to, like, an actual saw. And so, I guess what my country's power leaves us with the questions of is, are we going to be having a lot more dialogue with Von Ulmer and Phoenix? He seems very talkative these days, so are we going to be talking with him more? I'm very curious to see that. As well, the bunker buster that made the crater in the first place. Could we maybe see that happen? I think it would be very crazy come the end of a mission to just drop a bunker buster into friggin' Bolshakov's face or something like that. The crater I created. It felt weird to open my eyes. I had not thought that I would ever do so again. I should not exist within this world any longer, but for some reason the machine chose to save me. I didn't think it could even do such a thing. It must be very adept at delicate work, for it's replaced my broken leg with a mechanical one that starts at my knee. And somehow, I've survived. I'm not sure if I would thank it or shoot it if I were to ever see it again. I am saved, but the presence of that machine is now incorporated into my body. The metal looks similar to that of the human-like machine I talked with. I cannot help but to think that it used its own existing leg and transferred it to me. I wish I could say that it hurts, that my body rejects it, but it does not. Somehow, it does not. I can see the crater with my binoculars. It looks surreal. The crater I created. Further north, our rogue mechanical units are prowling the landscape. So many of them still alive. I guess the ones we left at our other camps were reprogrammed as well. I have seen them shoot humans as well as Swedish machines. They don't seem to care too much who dies by their weapons, but why would they care? They are emotionless machines after all. It seems I have saved my own country from this mess, but maybe in doing so I just made the situation even worse for the inhabitants I was sent here to save. There is still no communications through my radio. I pray that this is because Bolshakov's jamming is still in effect, and not because something bigger was unleashed when I gave that order. I pray that my country is still waiting there, alive and bustling, and that the Americans did not take this as a threat directed towards them. Maybe if I meet the machine again, I'll know. That's a reason not to shoot it, at least. I will try to get moving as soon as I can. Our mechanical units need to be stopped. Maybe the soldiers I sent to secure areas further inland are still alive. Together, we might return our units to their normal behavior, where they are prohibited to shoot at humans. Maybe even the Swedish survivors would be willing to help with this. If we can convince them that this situation was not what we wished for, maybe they can help. Regarding the Swedish machines, I'm left unsure. I will stay cautious as I learn more. Perhaps they're not as unreasonable as we fear. At least the being that I've talked to seems to be willing to communicate. Perhaps total war or annihilation is not our only option. I will do my best to clean up this big mess that I have caused. Maybe my presence here can still do some good, at least for someone. I pray that might be true. Tatiana. Now, dudes, holy heck! Replacing limbs with machine limbs. Dude, please, let Von Ulmer give us some robot legs. Give us, like, infinite stamina. The crazy, like, 2-story hunter jump. Oh, man. The concept of that would be crazy. But then beyond that, the thing that is clearly pointing us towards this being a DLC, this is gonna be a DLC, dudes, in the future. It's gonna be big, it's gonna be friggin' huge, is maybe even the Swedish survivors would be willing to help with this. Heck yeah, man! There's this part, too, that really makes me think that we're going to team up with Tatiana and Phoenix and be fighting against Bolshakov. Is, the part here at the end where it says, perhaps they're not as unreasonable as we feared. At least the being that I've talked to seems to be willing to communicate, which is actually a bit of a progression for Von Ulmer and for Phoenix here, because normally Phoenix is just like, I'm a robot and you're humans and I'm gonna kill you. But now he's like, let's have a chat. Let's have a welcome to my TED Talk. Maybe afterwards, this too is like maybe a bit of a hint. Potentially afterwards, we could see the Soviet machines become ally forces for us to fight alongside. And then even further beyond that, praying that the Americans did not take it as a threat directed towards... It's America, dude! Absolutely about to bust up in here and bring some freedom to those machines. So, from a new bad guy with Bolshakov, to a new good girl with Tatiana, to friggin' machine body parts being replaced with body parts, or human body parts, the bunker buster blowing up the crater and stuff. Crazy stuff, man. Phoenix talking more with people, it's insane. The amount of stuff that we get, the amount of lore that we get here from the Babushka dolls, mental, dudes. So, now that we're at the end of the video, I want to know your thoughts and feels. Post them up in the comments down below. If you've watched all the way up till this point, maybe post a My Dude comment down below so I can know. But for now, thank you very much for watching, my dudes. Stay awesome. And I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.